Welcome back to the Significant Coaching Podcast. I'm Coach Matt Rogers. I wanted to share a special midweek episode with you because I'm hearing and reading so much inaccurate information about college recruiting and especially timelines. In this episode, I asked Ashley Davis, a 5'4" high school sophomore from Maui, Hawaii, to talk to me about her volleyball recruitment journey. I think many of you will be surprised to hear how active she has been and how many in-depth conversations she's already having with numerous college coaches across the country. And let's remember, she's 15 years old, a high school sophomore. She has committed to investing about 10 minutes a week and being the CEO of her future. And I'm just thrilled with how much she's having fun and enjoying the process. If you're a parent or a high school coach or high school AD, you're going to want to make sure you take good notes because Ashley did an amazing job of sharing the many specific parts of her process up to this point. If you're enjoying these conversations, I encourage you to subscribe on your platform of choice and leave me a comment with your thoughts and questions. You can always learn more and schedule with me at coachmattrogers.com when you want more information. Let's get to it. Here's my conversation with Ashley Davis. Ashley Davis, I am so darn proud of you because you're doing such good work. How do you feel just about where your recruitment is today in like a sentence?
I would say it's moving really fast, and I'm happy to see how much the work has paid off even this early.
Yeah, me too. It's funny because I'm on social media. I'm in a lot of group chats with parents and coaches, and it's funny for me. I'll how many people with confidence will put on a post. Yeah, you don't have to worry about recruiting till your junior or senior year.
hmm
How would you respond to that if somebody told you that?
Well, obviously, I'm a sophomore, and I started really looking at colleges in eighth and early a freshman year. So, seeing where I am now and being confident and knowing that I can commit junior year is a lot different than if I would have started junior year. So, I'd say starting early is a big advantage if you can and you know what you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to get into a lot of that here as we talk. Before I met you, and before you and mom, scheduled with me, you were really working hard. You were getting some good work done. You'd already been to some camps. You'd already have some good conversations with coaches. Where do you feel like you were at as an eighth and a ninth grader before you and I started talking with your recruitment? And more so, talk about where your confidence was that you were doing the right things.
Okay, so before I started, like eighth and ninth grade, I wasn't really sure I was doing the right things. I was just kind of sending out emails sporadically. It wasn't on a strict like schedule how it is now. So obviously that's way different. And I was going to camps and I was talking to college coaches, but the results was not nearly as it is now, and that may be to age. But I also think it's because I've switched my emails a lot to shorter and straight to the point rather than before I was sending emails like that were like a paragraph and like no one's gonna read that. So yeah, I definitely think the schedule is a lot different now, like emailing 3 to 5 college coaches a day and just getting to know more about the recruiting process as I'm getting older.
Yeah. Now, you know a lot of teenagers, if we told them schedule right away, they'd be scared, right?
Yeah.
You got to be on a schedule. What's really your and my commitment to this? What am I asking you to do every week?
Just like literally at least email one and call one college coach.
Yeah,
That's it. But I'd say the more you take it into your own hands and the more you do email, the better results you'll have.
that's right. Now, I talk to a lot of high school kids, and the idea of calling a college coach scares the dickens out of them. That just scared them to the point where they get paralyzed by the idea of having to call a college coach. Where were you at before you started calling coaches? How did you feel about that idea?
I was very scared too. I before when I was a freshman in eighth grade, I would never call college coaches. The first one I did was this past like fall. So I was really scared. And I remember going on the first phone call and I was kind of wishing they wouldn't answer so I could just leave a voicemail. And they
Right.
didn't answer. It was a voicemail. But I'd say once one coach decided to pick up the phone, And after I had the conversation, I was like, oh, this is a lot easier than I thought. So it's a lot fun. It's way fun now. And yeah.
Yeah. And you know that the coaches are on your side. They're
Yeah.
not angry to talk to you. They're not upset that you called, right? It's
Hmm.
probably the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah. They're like, they lead the conversation for you. You don't need to wait for them to kind of say something. It's just like questions and then you ask them yours. It's really like it flows smoothly.
What a lot of parents don't understand is that they feel like they're burdening calling college coaches. But when a student athlete calls, that student athlete just did 80% of the work for that coach. They don't have to find you. They don't have to convince you to look at their school. They don't have to find your information, your phone number, your film, your schedule, your transcripts. You've done all that for them. Do you get the sense that the coaches are excited that when you call and they find out that you've sent them all that information they need to recruit you?
Yeah, especially being younger, I think a lot of them are happy to see that I'm class of 2027 and they're like, "Oh wow, you're really early. That's super like cool that you're doing this." And then you just build the connection. So they're all really excited to talk to you and they just want to get to know you as a person.
This is something you and I have talked about, but I want to get your feel on it. How do you feel they feel, the coaches, about knowing who you are and that you're interested in them as a sophomore and that they have 2+ years to get to know you and watch you? How do you feel they're responding to that?
So I think it's different for a lot of coaches. So it would either be, though, some of them will just be like, oh, it's too early. I'll send her an email back and be like, hey, class of 2027 is far away. But others are really excited and they just want to build their relationship with you. So then when your senior year rolls around and let's say you committed there, you already have this 2+ year relationship with them.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of them are really excited to see that you're younger and you want to get to know them and they want to get to know you. So the connection is better when you get on the team if you do.
Well, I do this podcast because I want families and kids your age to really hear college coaches talk about this process and talk about how they recruit and how they build programs. And what I love when I talk to college coaches is they're frustrated with the portal. They're frustrated with all the transferring that's going on. Oftentimes, they might have a couple of days to get to know a kid before they make an offer.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of them miss and still want to recruit high school kids. They
Mhm.
love how it used to be where I could get to know you as a 15-year-old and I could build conversations with you and get to know your parents and work my schedule around the next 2 years where I can see you play live a lot.
Yeah.
So are you finding that's how coaches are responding to you? The fact that they get to know you so early and they get that opportunity to get to know your life and your family and you?
Yeah, I'd say for sure. They get super excited just to talk to you and they'll ask you a bunch of personal questions and that just like don't even revolve around volleyball. So it's obvious that they want to get to know you and have a relationship with you.
Yeah. A lot of kids that do this, it's really sporadic. Like you were talking about before you and I started working together, it's sporadic. They'll send an email here and there. I've always wanted to go to USC. I'm going to send the coaches at USC an email. I've always wanted to go to Alabama. I'm going to send an email to the coaches at Alabama. What did you and I do in terms of figuring out where do we attack? How do we create that list of schools that really fit you?
Hmm. We just looked and we emailed each division level, including NAIA, and then you see which coaches respond, or like even for D2 or even D1, they'll send you questionnaires. You can just tell by that which schools you should start leaning towards more. And so when I started getting response from certain divisions, then you go and you just keep emailing other schools like that. And of course, you can still send emails to like higher level divisions, but it's really important to focus on the ones that you've seen success with.
Yep.
Um, and then also with the sporadic emailing, I used to do that a lot, but now it's more, I email probably 3 to 5 coaches a day. And so doing that, it's obviously, you see more results and it's more motivating to keep doing it. And also, I'll just like do it whenever I'm bored. I'll have nothing to do. I'm like, oh, I'll just go send an email because it literally takes 5 minutes out of your day.
Yeah.
And so it's super quick and easy.
Yeah. I mean, for you, you're doing such a great job. You copy me on everything, and I'm always excited. And it's typically similar time of the day. I'm assuming it's a study hall, or you just got home from school, or you got done with practice, right? Are you?
Hmm.
And we've talked about executive function skills and setting that alarm on our phone to say, okay, I got to remind myself I'm going to have 10 minutes in the first part of study hall today. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to knock out 3 emails. And it takes me 5-10 minutes to do that.
Yeah.
Right? How does
Yeah.
that, how has that changed how you look at recruiting?
I was always really excited about it, but I would be like kind of I don't know if it's gonna work out. I don't know if colleges are really gonna like recruit me. But now once I've been doing it so much and I've been sending so many emails, I've been doing a lot of phone calls, I realized like, wow, this result is a lot better than I thought it would have been. And like how you were saying, whenever I finish schoolwork in class, I'll literally like just send a bunch of emails and I'll copy you on everything. And then usually in a few days, I'll get a response to at least one. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're doing a great job. Talk about the process we went to just finding out which schools really fit you. Talk about those priority lists that we created in terms of your major and how far away from home you want to go and how you want to feel on that campus. How has that helped shape you finding those schools that you already feel confident that if the coach wants you, I think this might be a good fit. Has that helped?
Yeah, it has a lot. Just narrowing down what you're looking for. And if volleyball isn't there and while you're in college, that you'll still be happy going to that school is a big thing. And also making sure they have the major because not every school you're going to go to. Like if you go to a tech school and you want to major in, I don't know, something that's not tech, that's obviously not going to work out well for you.
Yeah.
So you have to be really aware of the major and what the school offers academically when you're looking and emailing colleges. And also just knowing how comfortable you are going away from home and the size of the school if you want bigger or smaller because again you have to make sure you're going to be happy socially and academically not just with volleyball because that could always get taken away from you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we want you happy and healthy wherever you go, right?
Yeah.
The idea is to get that degree, and volleyball is the kind of the glue that puts it all together. But if volleyball's not there, you're still going to get that degree. You're still at a place you love. You're still surrounded by an environment that you chose to be in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. All right, let's talk about the importance of practicing phone calls. We do mock phone calls,
Yeah.
and we practice just finding our voice and finding our confidence. Has that helped you? And what advice would you give to that mom and dad and that 15, 16-year-old student athlete out there about the importance of practicing a phone call before you start making those phone calls?
Yeah, I remember when we first did our mock phone call for the first time, I had no clue what I was gonna say, and it was kind of just you talk really fast, you're just trying to get everything out there for the coach to hear. But once you do the phone call, it's very similar to how coaches will actually talk to you, I've realized when I've done real phone calls. And so just knowing and having the experience prior, it really helps you and sets you up great for the actual phone call. It makes you seem a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
And even with voicemails, it helps a lot because you're like, oh, I know what to say, I did this. Um, so it just comes out easier and you can just focus on what you need to work on, like talking fast, finding the voice that you want coaches to hear, and just being yourself.
And we started this process by kind of building some scripts. So you
Yeah.
had something that you could practice reading. Are you still on script, or you feel like I got this? I know what I'm going to say when I hop on.
The first few ones, I was doing the script, especially for the voicemails. I'd say the phone call, it's a little harder to do a script for,
Yep.
but for the voicemails, yeah, I would do the script a lot. And then I've kind of recently started just going off and saying what I feel I want to say, which is good because I think it's more authentic, especially if you get more comfortable. And then on the phone calls, I'd say just stop worrying about what you think they want to hear and just say what you want to say. And so in the end, they'll always leave a better result if they know what you really wanted to say rather than what you were like trying to please to them.
That's right. At the end of the day, we want coaches to appreciate you for who you are, not who you're trying to be or who you think they want you to be. So, that's my greatest pride in you right now is you're so authentic. So coaches are getting on the phone with you and they're kind of going, wow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think another thing is if the coach doesn't like the way you're talking or how you presented yourself, that just tells you that that school's not the right fit for you.
yeah,
So it gives you more information rather than just but not being true to yourself on the phone call.
absolutely. Now, we built a great online profile for you. We
Mhm.
spent a lot of time in the first couple of sessions building out your personal statement. And
Yeah.
we talked about this the other day. When we built that personal statement, did you feel like anybody was ever going to read it? Did you feel like anybody was ever going to pay attention to it?
Um, I would think people would glance at it, but no one would really ever take it into consideration because anyone can have a personal statement.
Right.
But when I was on a phone call recently with a college, the coach actually mentioned to me, like, we love that personal statement. That's the type of athlete we want to recruit. That really just showed us, like, a little bit of who you are. So that was really surprising and good to hear.
Yeah. And you've got such a good profile. You've got your film on it. You've got a great picture on it. You've got your game schedule and your tournament schedule. You've got your personal statement. You have all your coaches' phone numbers. You have my phone number if coaches want to talk to me. So what's great about that is coaches can find you anytime they want. They can come back and reevaluate you. You can update your profile with new film and new information, right? How does that starting to feel knowing that you've made these contact with these coaches and now they have access to track you and evaluate you as you get older? Is that helpful?
Yeah, it is. It just makes it a lot easier for myself too, knowing, oh, I don't need to go and kind of just like send out my film. Well, I mean, you should go and update them that, oh, I like redid this.
Yeah.
But like it's good knowing you don't have to go and do so much more and it's all right there for them. And it makes you a lot more confident in knowing people will see because you also get the notifications that, oh, blah, blah, viewed your profile. It's like, oh, cool. I emailed them like a week ago. And so you can go follow up with them and be like, hey, I just added a new film. Can you go look at it? Because you know they've already seen your profile.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great tool rather than just sending them YouTube videos.
I'm going to piggyback that because this is something you're doing really, really well. And a lot of my other student athletes I'm working with are struggling to kind of push the envelope with coaches. You've started really making this your own. You've emailed the coach, you've called the coach 4 or 5 days, a week later, you don't hear anything back, you're sending another email. But what are
Mhm.
you changing in that second email? What are you saying in that subject line?
So in the subject line, originally I'll have like my name, 2027 recruit, all of that. And then right before it, if this is the second attempt, I'll literally write out second attempt and then I'll write the rest of my subject. And I realized that it adds a little bit of like, oh shoot, I need to read this to the coach since they're like trying again and they actively want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And so you get a lot of results doing that and it works out really well.
Yeah, these coaches are human beings.
Mhm.
They they all want to help you.
Yeah.
A lot of them are getting a couple hundred emails a day. Some are getting, 30 emails a week, but a lot of them are getting a lot of kids like you reaching out. So
Mhm.
when you put second attempt in that subject line, it automatically makes, oh gosh, this kid's really trying.
Yeah.
And they give you a call back or they email you back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I've scheduled a phone call off of my second attempt email. So that
Yeah.
just goes to show how if you really like push and keep on emailing, it will work out. Because a lot of times your emails can just go to spam. So you never know. Yeah.
Great. Let's roll into that because you're a sophomore. So the parents listening to this, it's going to kind of blow their heads that you're a sophomore already having full on recruiting conversations with college coaches. And we're asking them to do it on Zoom so they can see you and you can see them and mom and dad can be on the call, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the importance of being prepared. We're emailing coaches, we're calling them, we're asking in return that they give us feedback, we're asking them to set up a phone call. How does it feel when you get on that call, you get on
Hmm.
that Zoom, and you've got a list of questions there that you're prepared to ask? How does that feel that you're getting the information you want out of those calls?
Yeah, it feels really good to know. It gives you such a better idea of the college before when you were just emailing them. And it also shows to the coach that you're really interested rather than asking like simple questions about the school. You really want to take time to think about what questions you truly want to know. And that just shows how interested you are, and it makes the coach want to be more interested in you. So being prepared for the like Zoom call is a game changer, because if you weren't, it would just be kind of awkward, and it just show that you're not as invested as you would be if you did have everything prepared.
Yeah. The investment's important, but we also don't want to waste that opportunity with that college coach, right? They're
Yeah.
taking 30, 40 minutes out of their day to meet with you. We want to make sure that we don't have to keep having the same conversation over again. We want to ask all the questions. So they might tell you that you're going to be the fourth setter on their team in 3 years, or they
Mm-hmm.
always bring in four setters. Well, that's a red flag for you, because now you're like, okay, do I want to compete with that? Do I want to go to a place that's over recruiting? And it allows you to really evaluate that program, right?
Yeah. And I think a big thing also is making sure you're writing down like a reflection or summary of your call after. And so then later you can compare. Like, I've already been starting to compare my phone calls I've had. And so you can just see what you're looking for. And if stuff doesn't match exactly what you want, because later when you're a junior or senior, it will come a lot more easily to choose if you've already been like thinking about what you want
That's
out of
right.
the calls.
And that's another thing that teenagers fight me on a little bit. Not, fight me, but are reluctant to write in their journal, their recruiting journal that we create. And I think it's awesome that you're already starting to see how you're feeling after a phone call, and you're able to compare. How did that coach make me feel? Did they act like they really like me? Did they act like they really see me as a possible recruit? Or are they just being kind?
Yeah.
Am I just another kid that they're talking to? When you get done with that call, are you starting to recognize the truths of that call and the truths of how you want to feel?
Yeah. And I think being really like attentive and looking at the coach's body language and just their tone of voice will also really help you during the Zoom call to tell what they're kind of feeling inside their head towards you. And so I think after the call, it's really important to just like sit and think about what they were saying and how it relates to what you were wanting to hear. So yeah, it becomes really easy to tell if the coach is really interested in you or not, and if you want to continue talking with them.
Yeah. Think about just last week. Okay, the
Mm-hmm.
last 7 to 10 days. Because I think we're overwhelming families a little bit, and maybe a teenagers that's listening to this. It sounds like a lot. It sounds like a lot of time and a huge commitment. When you add up the time you've put into the last week, just into your recruiting, what do you think it looks like? What do you think the total amount of time has been?
I would say not including the phone call, because that would obviously add an extra hour to it, but just sending emails and like leaving a quick voicemail and stuff. I would say 7 to 10 days, probably an hour and a half at most, not even. So it's really not that long if you think of it in the grand scheme of things, and it will
Yeah.
all pay off.
And you're going above and beyond. I mean, you really are enjoying doing this. And when you have free time, I get on my phone and scroll through Instagram and TikTok, or I can send a 3-minute email and
Yeah.
make a phone call, right?
Exactly.
And that's really smart in how you're attacking that. And I think it's important that kids your age understand this. There isn't a huge time commitment.
Mm-mm.
It's just being smart about your habits and being smart about your routine, and setting that alarm on your phone for 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon when you know you're in study hall going, I'm already in study hall. I'm going to send an email. I'm going to make a call when I get home. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also having fun with it too. The more you do it, the more you'll have fun, and the more results you have, obviously that makes you more excited. But
Yeah.
you can't get the results if you don't put in the time beforehand. So,
One of the hardest things for me growing up was just communication with my coaches and the people that could help me. I look
mhm.
back and I kind of regret that I didn't build stronger relationships with my teachers and my professors and my coaches, that I didn't put myself out there. What has it been for you just to have somebody to talk to that you can call, you can schedule with, you can bounce ideas off? Has that been a difference maker? Or has that just it's been nice, but now that I know what I'm doing, I don't know if I need that. How's that been for you?
I think even though I was sending emails and stuff before I started with you, it's a lot different because you can go and text and you'll get an answer. Like if you have a question about a school, or if a coach isn't picking up the phone when they're scheduled to, you can text and be like, "Hey, what do I do?" And you'll give a response. And it's really good just to know that you have someone that like knows way more about recruiting than you do. So it provides a different insight. And having someone that also talks to college coaches, they can tell you like, oh, this is what they're looking for, and then you can kind of mold to that, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, it's really helpful.
Yeah, it's great. I wish I would have had a recruiting coach,
Mm-hmm.
30 years ago. But more importantly, I just wish I would have had an open dialogue with my guidance counselor and my high school coach and those people that I wish I would have went, hey, I'm struggling with this. I'm not having any confidence sending a letter today. Can you help me? Can you give me some reason to reach
Yeah.
out to this coach? So my big thing, yes, I want to help lots of kids like you. And I love that you and I have the relationship we have, but I think it's so cool for you. And another thing I'm really proud of is you're not afraid to text me in the middle of the day. You're not afraid to schedule with me a couple times in a week or if we need it.
Yeah.
And that's why your recruitment is so significant and you're seeing such good results is you're not afraid to say, hey, I need some help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think for all of us, the more we're willing to do that, the healthier we are. And the more we're
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, that idea that I had, it was a good idea, or that idea it wasn't quite shaped the way I needed to. So it was nice to talk it through and have
Yeah.
somebody to collaborate with. So whether you have a recruiting coach, whether you have a great relationship with your guidance counselor, your high school coach, whether it's just doing this with mom and dad,
Mm-hmm.
don't you think it's important not to try and do this by yourself?
Yeah, I think you definitely need someone to help you no matter how good you think you are at it, because you can always be better. And at the end of the day, having two people and two people thinking about what you should send, because you're going to miss and mess up on emails and stuff. I've messed up on emails before big time, and I wouldn't have even noticed if I didn't have someone looking at it
Yeah.
and reading it. So I think just another person to help you and come up with ideas will really help your recruiting, and you'll start to notice it.
Yeah. And and I think it was a really good point you just made. It's okay to fail too, isn't it? It's okay.
Mhm.
I'm going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Just like on the volleyball court, you're gonna throw a bad ball to your hitter every once in a while. You're
Yeah.
not going to have that timing. You're going to miss a serve every once in a while, and just learning to be okay that I'm going to make mistakes, and it doesn't change my path. It doesn't change how great a person I am, how great of a kid I am. And
Mhm.
and I think for you, I don't want you to forget about that. I want you to relish in those mistakes. And I want you to be, okay, that was a mistake. Bummer. But I know what I did wrong. I
Yeah.
know how to fix it. I know that it's not the end of the world.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think also learning from it after I made a mistake on an email that was pretty big, you can kind of know what to do next time, and I've just been more, like, thorough in looking at what I'm sending and reading it over 2, 3 times instead of just glancing,
Yeah,
because it's not gonna take you long. It takes you 5 seconds to read an email, so
that's right. And you also know you could send it to me before you send it to a coach, and I'm going to
yeah,
read it over for you, right?
exactly.
Yeah. So good, Ashley. It's so good what you're doing. And I've done all this. I wrote the book and I work with kids all the time, but what you're doing with it, you've made it your own. You've really taken ownership over this process. And that's what's so impressive. And you're not taking away your personal life. You're not taking away your athletic time. You're not taking away time for your family. You're doing this for you and you're doing it around time when you have it. And
Yeah.
and that's what I'm really excited about for you. If you could give one piece of significant advice to a student athlete out there that wants to get recruited, their parents, what advice would you give them?
I would say you just need to have fun with it, because the more fun you have, the more you want to do it. And also, if you're on the fence about recruiting and if you want to go to college, it's better to send the email than not, because you could be in your junior year thinking, man, I should have been sending those emails my freshman, sophomore year, because now I really want to play in college. So I would say, even if you're thinking about it, just send one email a week if that's all you can, and it will pay off in the long run. And even if you don't want to do it, finding the motivation is really important, because again, when you get the results, it's really rewarding and it makes you feel really good seeing that a college coach is interested in you.
You're a rock star, kiddo. I'm so proud of you, and that's why I wanted to have you on this podcast, because you were that kid that said, "I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not sure how to do it. I don't know if I should have confidence in myself." And you've let yourself jump. You've jumped off that cliff and said, "I'm just going to see what happens. I have a plan, but I'm going to jump and I'm going to see what happens." And your results are great. You told me from the beginning you wanted to try and commit by the end of your junior year, and we're well on our way. We're 18 months from that, or we're 10 months from the start of your junior year. But realistically, you can be done with your high school volleyball season your junior year and probably have some offers on the table that spring. And
Yeah.
and that's a huge statement to you by just saying, "I decided I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to stick to it." Right?
Yeah. And
Way
it's
to
just
go.
really exciting to see, like, knowing that I can actually achieve that goal because of what I've put in. So that's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah. And if anybody's listening, she's an unbelievably great student too. She busts her tail in the classroom. Coaches are responding to her grades. They know they can get her into school. They know they can get her and her family good money, good scholarship, good academic money. So for those of you that are going, "Okay, she's got this routine, but she's working really hard." Ashley busts her tail on the volleyball court. She does workouts on her own to get stronger, to be a better jumper, to be a better passer. And she's just as consistent with her grades. And the coaches are appreciating all of those things about you, aren't they?
Yeah.
They
Thank
are.
you.
Yeah. You are bringing it all to the table. So thank you for giving me time. Thank you for sharing your story and your message with all the families listening. And I know we're going to have a lot of fun here over the next couple of years.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of the Significant Coaching Podcast. I'd like to thank the fantastic Ashley Davis for being a great recruiting coach for all of her peers out there looking to jumpstart their recruitment. Some great advice today. If you're enjoying these conversations, please click that subscribe and like buttons. If you're interested in working with me or scheduling me to speak at your school organization, you can schedule a free strategy session at coachmattrogers.com. Hey, thanks again for listening. Have a significant week, and goodbye until next time.